Hey, इसका लो वीडियो.
Hello.
Hey, star. These 2 minutes I wait to do.
Okay, one picture together.
I actually took the wrong left. We should have gone up.
थोड़ा पीछे होना है अंकित बोल दे डाल नाम ना तू थोड़ा पीछे
Picture with Papa. Picture with Papa.
Come here. आजा बिलाल.
You do this after this. Come behind. And this is just starting
बोल भाई. थोड़ा खाली.
okay
चलो.
good sir
Let me go. Sorry. Just a small second. One second.
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of Tidal Waves and Penguin Random House India, I'd like to welcome you all to the book launch of The Kiss of Flight by Imraan, Hashmi and Bilal Siddiqi. This is a very, very proud moment for us. The book has already done very well. It's a best-selling book and we're finally able to launch it here in Mumbai. So thank you all of you for being here. Please welcome all our panelists with a huge round of applause. This event is also super special because we have the real hero of the book, Ayan, here to launch the book with us today. So although most of you are friends, family and fans and you know all the people here already, we have Hussain Zaidi here, India's #1 crime writer, writer of many books from Black Friday to Dongri to Dubai, and also a person whom we publish Blue Salt books with. It's a real pleasure and honor to work with you, Hussain. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Thank you. Imraan Hashmi, of course, actor of blockbuster Bollywood films, but now also a best-selling author. So this is another feather in his cap. Thank you so much for being here. Ayan, how are you feeling? Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Hey! So he's the person why the book happened. He's the real hero. Most of you who would have read the book.
ए मोबाइल रखना नीचे. अरे अभी मोबाइल मोबाइल चेयर पे
Hold the book up. Thank you.
Well, you just did it. So now we are going to find out more about the book, the making of the book, and for that I'm going to request Hussein to moderate the discussion for today's evening. Over to you, Hussein.
Universe inside him. There is this young guy, 21-year-old Bilal Siddiqi. At his age, people chase skirts, look after girls, but this man is writing books after books. I am really envious of him. His first book was a
correction 6. How could you go wrong with that?
Thank you. The book is about him, where he is discovering his own self, where he is discovering the vast.
Sorry, 6 now. Yeah, 6 now. At that time you were 4. That how he was hand holding his parents.
You mean 3 hours, 3
So 3-year-old is helping his parents, and now he's 6. To learn the deeper meanings of life, and how Imraan himself had so many places said that he gathered so much from his own child, the way he was maturing, the way he was handling first the very difficult traumatic surgery, and then after that chemotherapy, sessions of chemotherapy, and how he was losing his hair. But the way he handled everything so bravely and so courageously is something that we all should take a leaf from and learn in life. In fact, the last chapter of the book is so fascinating that I've read it thrice so far, and every time I read it I feel like crying. It's about 3.5-year-old who has gone through so much in life, and still he wants to participate in a race against the wishes of his father. Imraan has been a hero. You have seen him beating up so many baddies in the movies, and you have seen him as a brave man in the movies. But even he could not face that how his young son decided to take part in the race, and he ran throughout, despite he falling at least thrice in that race. But the way this boy finished the race and then he showed a thumbs up sign to his father is something which will bring your heart to your throat. You must read this book for the reason of seeing the real life courage of a father and a son, and how we all, of course, see so much of courage in life. But I'm saying that when we see these stories, when we see the real life stories of a father and son going through it, you will understand that yes, there are people who go through this and they still survive and turn out far braver than what they were earlier. So when I went to Imraan once about 2.5 years ago and asked me to write the book, he was very reluctant, he was not sure. So after that, when he agreed to write the book and when he discussed all those unknown facets of his life, you will find that those are very interesting, and the book is so unputdownable that 3 people who have read authors have said that wish that they were in the place of Bilal Siddiqi and they were in this place to write this book and author this book with Imraan. So I will now ask these guys to speak and tell you about their journey and what they went through and how they thought about writing the book. Imraan.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming here this evening. Thank you so much. I want to start by thanking a few people. Without them, this book wouldn't have been possible. First of all, Mr. Hussein Zaidi, the man who relentlessly pushed me week after week, month after month, after I came back from Canada where he was being treated. And I remember what Hussein told me. He said that, you know, you've been through this as parents, this information that you've had, that you've got on your side. If one family, one parent, if one child fighting cancer can have this information on his or her side, it will be battle won for all of them and for you. And also Bilal, my partner in crime, I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. He really pushed me dig down into those painful memories back in 2014 in January and document them in this book. So thank you, Bilal. And also Millie, the entire team at Penguin, it wouldn't have been possible without them. They've really given the book the kind of exposure that it needed to get across to everyone in the hour of need. And also, I think next month there will be a Hindi version and a Marathi version that will be launched. So looking forward to that. So let me just take you back through the incident 2 years back and tell you exactly how the book eventually happened. It was January the 13th, 2014, when as a family our life was completely wrecked. It was a casual brunch that me, my wife and my son had gone for to Taj Lands End. And it was there where we detected some abnormal symptoms in our son. And we rushed him to the hospital. There was his head pediatrician there and tests began. There was a conversation that we had 2 weeks back. We didn't want, we were delaying a simple blood test for the hemoglobin because we didn't want our child to go through physical trauma when a needle went into his arm. And here in this hospital, there was needle after needle jabbed into his arm and doctors trying to get to the bottom of the problem. Anyways, that nightmarish of a day ended. We went back home and I went onto the internet to do my own research. And I typed out his symptoms, and what I was confronted with on one website really tore my heart apart. It said the dreaded C word, and below that there were a list of other diseases. And I remember going to sleep that night. Before that, I prayed to God and I said that please don't let this be cancer, please don't let this be cancer. But next day, our worst fears manifested. His chest x-ray and his blood tests were normal. But in his sonography, there was a tumor the size of a seasoned ball that was growing on top of his left kidney. And I remember seeing it on the sonography machine, this dark grey haze. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a Wilms tumor. It's a very rare case of kidney cancer that happens to a minuscule percentage of kids. Of all pediatric cancers, roughly around 2 to 3%, and he happened to be part of that unfortunate percentage of kids. If you've had someone close to you being diagnosed with this disease, you know what the next couple of weeks, months, and possibly years are like. You're hearing things like staging, pathology, chemotherapy, remission, radiation, and it was very frightening for us back then because we didn't know the staging of the cancer. And even these cancers are divided into two subgroups, which is favorable and unfavorable. God forbid a child has unfavorable, the chemotherapy does not work. But God was, I guess, very kind. In the next week after the surgery, we realized it was a favorable cancer. And we as parents and family, we fought hard for 7 months. We took him to Toronto for his treatment, chemotherapy. And through this entire phase, and this is how the book actually started, somewhere it started seeding in my mind, that there was this fear in me, and there's a fear that in most of cancer patients and parents, a fear that when the chemotherapy is being administered, you feel the job is being done with something is fighting the disease. But what happens once that stops? Doctors and oncologists didn't give me the right answer. They didn't give me the answer I wanted to hear. They told me that, take the chemotherapy, fingers crossed it won't come back. Because there is recurrence in cancer, there is a 5-year survival rate. So I started doing my own research, and turned out some great information which was going to help us out was that roughly 90% of cancers were lifestyle related, and a small percentage of cancers were genetic, which means that we could have fought this, we can fight it. And there are a lot of things that come into play. There is, obviously, lifestyle is what, when you come to cancer, when you come to terms with why cancer happens. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink, the stress levels, all of this contributes to an abnormality in the body. And we put Ayan on a very, very good diet. He's probably the only 6-year-old who has a vegetable smoothie. I can't have it. So he really, I guess, worked his way himself to cure himself. of this disease, and it's statistically they say that roughly by 2030 there will be 4 in 5 people who will have cancer, and that's a very alarming rate for our country. That means probably everyone in this room at some point of a time with our given diets and lifestyle are candidates to get this disease. So I felt once Hussein came to me and Bilal came to me and they said that you have to get this information out to people, and if it touches one life and gets the information to them, it will be a great accomplishment. And this is not just for cancer patients, this is for people, for prevention, because even we as a family felt that this could never happen to us. Cancer is something that happens to someone else. But I have news for you, it comes knocking on your door without a warning, and sometimes it gets very late. So I would advise everyone to go out and read this book. We have put the last 3 chapters, which are about what you can eat and what you can avoid to reduce your probability of getting this disease. Something that oncologists will not tell you. I have nothing against them. They have saved my son's life because chemotherapy was given to him. But the fact is that food does not come into their domain. It cannot be patented. So that's why pharma companies will never say, if you have curcumin, for example, it can help you fight heart disease and cancer. So all these things have been documented in this book. So I hope everyone gets to read it. And yeah, over to Bilal.
I think exactly or slightly over a year ago at this very place we had launched my book, and exactly the 3 people. Today we have a little addition, and that's Ayan, because of whom this book is possible. I think Ayan serves as an inspiration to pretty much everyone out here in this room. He's so cheerful, he's just like the coolest kid you can be around. So the book had actually started, I think, sir, a year and a half ago? Yeah. When sir had actually met him and discussed it, and after that I think they decided that I'm fit to write the book, which was a big, it was a big opportunity for me, but it also it was a big responsibility as well, considering the fact that I had to tell the story of someone whose shoes I haven't been in, and doing that was easier than I thought it would be, because he literally he was pretty cooperative. He would tell me almost everything in detail. Even if I missed something out, he would relive that moment, and I would actually see him choking up at certain instances, because it just can't be easy having to go through all of that all over again. So I think it's a it's a great thing that he's done by getting this book out and sharing his experiences, something that not everyone will be open to speak about, but not just experiences, but also certain things he came across which he felt was needed, was imperative to document in the book. So having said that, the book is not a grim retelling of just what happened, but it is also he retraces his journey as an actor, which is pretty entertaining to read. It was entertaining for me to write as well. And I think all in all the book will inspire you and educate you, but at the same time will leave you with a smile in the end. And if that's what happens, I think we're successful at having put this book out.
All those small episodes that you went through while you were writing this book, or when you were going through in US and in India?
First things first, when we decided that this is going to be documented in this book, I thought it's going to be an extremely painful journey to relive all of that once again. In some ways, moments brought about feelings of nostalgia, because, like Bilal said, the book is not just about the episode of cancer. It's about retracing my family and how I was in college, school, my grandmother, my father, everyone in the family. But apart from that, I think it was very therapeutic. It's like counseling, there are feelings that are there. You've been through them, they're painful, but the moment you talk about them or you pen them down, it just finds some kind of closure. So I think this book really, when I went through reading it at one stretch, once it was done, it again was extremely therapeutic to know that the worst is behind us, and fascinating because we as a family unit could actually get through this and we could fight this disease. And it takes me back to the first day, the hope with which we started off, where Parveen and me held back our tears because we couldn't in front of him. We had to show and we be this come from a place of strength and told ourselves that we're going to get through this and we're going to make sure nothing happens to our son. So it's just a feeling of accomplishment. Everyone felt that, my family, friends, everyone when they read the book.
What about those stories of your, when you were climbing the ladder of success, becoming a star? For example, those stories about you, kissing a heroine and coming home and seeing a sulking wife. So what about those stories? Do you feel bad about it? Or does Parveen still fight with you about those?
She still sulks. She doesn't hit me as hard.
Okay.
Yeah, earlier it used to be with a bat.
Okay.
Now it's just with the hand. So she's kind of tamed down over the years.
But do you still bribe her with that jewelry, piece of jewelry you have to give every time you kiss her?
Bags.
Bags.
I always buy her bags.
Okay.
For every kiss, for every film. So she's got a cupboard full of bags. There's one cupboard dedicated to bags. Yes.
So after kissing Fakhri so many times?
No, as many times.
Okay.
Bag is only once.
Only one.
Yeah. We had a barter deal. That way, I told her वैसा कंगाल हो जाऊंगा मैं.
Okay.
हर चीज का पैसा मत देना. फिल्म का पैसा ले लो और बैग खरीद लो उसका.
So, are there more such stories which you have not disclosed in this book and just kept to yourself, which you will reveal some other time?
Hussain, this takes me back to a discussion we had in my van a month back, where I thought you were joking, but you were actually serious. He said that Hussain actually came up and said, Imraan, this book is doing so well. I'm greedy. I want to tell you to write another book. I was like, I have no experience to share right now. I just shared this the biggest experience of my life. And now Hussain will tell you first the title of the book that he wanted me to write now. Please tell them the title of the book.
Let's keep it again, Imraan. We'll do it when we do it.
It's about, just at least tell them what it's about.
Okay, you tell. You go ahead and do this.
I tell the title, no? Title bata do. I am. I might act as a smooth guy on screen. But you have to ask my wife.
Yeah, he proposed his wife in a lift saying, can we, marry? Yeah. Something of that
By the way.
By the way.
I got rejected like 3 times. So that's the love guru for you. I think I'd make a disastrous book.
But
I don't think I'd
but imagine if he, despite being such a hopeless romantic, is known as serial kisser everywhere. And those movies where he has not kissed has been a miserable flop. For example, Shanghai. What other movies were there?
Thankfully, some films where I have not kissed also have flopped. So, Kamshad kissed also have flopped.
Okay.
So, there's the equation got balanced over there.
And I'm not writing that book, sir.
That's okay. Imraan will write alone this time, I guess. But I thought he could be successful love guru if he wants to write that book.
I think about it.
Yeah.
I think I'll actually give it a thought.
So guys, there's any questions now? We can ask questions from Imraan and Bilal. Yes.
Sit down and ask. Hello, Imraan.
Hi.
Firstly, I'd like to admit that I'm the biggest Imraan Hashmi fan maybe in the country. So much so that my engagement was Imraan Hashmi based theme.
Pretty convenient.
I'm assuming things now about the engagement. I'm getting visuals in my head.
It was based on your songs. So
Okay.
I'll stick to
That's
the
good.
theme of this event. So I'd like to ask you, you were been through this crisis journey, and what are the things you learned about yourself as an individual in this journey, and what are the positives which you could draw from this experience?
That was the hardest chapter to pen down because I didn't fully know how it had changed me, and it took a lot of time. It took me roughly 2 months. I was shooting for Azhar in London, and then I kept thinking about it because it's like any crisis, any trauma. Death changes you. A trauma like this in your family changes you, and you don't fully understand or comprehend how it's changed you. But then, when I realized it, I started penning it down, and it was actually going back to a race that my son ran, and we didn't want him to run that race because he had just come back with chemotherapy and he was very frail, And there was going to be sun there with the mud there, and we thought he's going to fall sick because his immunity was low. And something miraculously happened. It was not short of a miracle, because when he started running the race, he was very faint. He took 3 steps and he fell hard on the floor, and he got himself up and he ran as fast as he could. He ran 5 steps and he fell again. He got up again, he ran, and he finished that race. And I remember that visual of him turning around over his shoulder. He smiled at me and he put his thumbs up. And that was the wisdom that I got in my life that probably 10 wise men haven't taught me in so many years. That life's going to hit you time and again. It's going to hit you very hard. And you're going to fall. And you're going to fall hard. And however shaky your feet, you must get up and roll with the punches. And that's something a 5-year-old taught me. And that gave me perspective to life and made me feel that personal issues, professional issues are so trivial. When you have a kid come into the world and at the age of 3.5 battle a disease like this and still has a smile on his face. Through all of this, what are we complaining about? He has a smile right now. So he's a rock star. So this is what's changed me. This is what gives me perspective to keep moving on and have a sense of optimism. Responsibility is one, because I find myself as being a very irresponsible person. I try to take on responsibility as much as I can. Having a son has changed that. That has given me a certain responsibility to act and behave in a way that he would aspire to be someone like me and be a role model for him. So that, to a certain extent, has brought in a kind of responsible part of me through this. I don't know what he's doing right now. I think he's changing the time. Yeah.
Hi everybody. Bilal, my question is to you. It's a fantastic book, and we have seen the actor's journey and the father's journey. How difficult or easy was the author's journey for something that you may not have felt yourself? You are not a father yet. So how was it to encode and decode and present it so beautifully?
That's one of the first things that came to my mind before I took this project on. The fact that I'm not a father. And also, I will probably never be able to understand what he went through, because it is a complex, there's not one particular emotion you're hit with when you hear something like that. It's, what I pretty much had to rely on was the censor and his, Imraan sir's accounting of what happened, and from there I had to actually get into his head, and luckily he narrated the incident to me as many times as was needed until I got it just right. And even if I did falter at times, he did rewrite that portion. And as a person, it has certainly changed me a lot, the way I look at life now, the way I learn to take the small things. I learned not to take the small things for granted. The way I don't know, my food habits haven't changed much. I still have 5 Cokes, I have 2 now.
Unless I'm on the table and I keep taunting him.
Then I have 1. And so, yes, it was a complex book to write, and I know this is just my 2nd book, and even if I write 10 more, none of them will be as special as this one was. So, in that sense, yes, it was quite a journey, and I'm grateful it happened. Thank you.
Imraan, any possibilities of turning this book into a movie?
I don't know how it would lend itself to a movie. I don't see it really becoming a feature film with the story that's there. I don't know. I hope cinema goes that way and it becomes that kind of film and gets a mainstream release. But what we're trying to do right now is make... that's the actually thought I had when we had our Delhi launch, and I shared it with Bilal and said that I felt that this should be made into a documentary, which is something I seriously want to think about. Because when I came down to talking to a lot of people here and seeing the case studies of people who've been treated with of cancer with the conventional treatments here, and also there's a holistic way of looking at things. There's an alternative way which is not mainstream. So 95% of the times you will feel that oncology is the way to go. That go and get your chemotherapy and radiation, which is fine, but you also have to understand that there are other ways where people have been treated through nutritional intervention, and it has worked for them.
I've spoken to people who have cured themselves of 4th stage cancer with nutritional intervention. After a certain age, you cannot get chemotherapy. It plays havoc with your body. My mom passed away at the age of 70 2 months ago. She didn't die of the cancer. She died because the chemotherapy created havoc in her body and she couldn't get off the bed. So it would have been best for her to go through a nutritional plan, because after a certain age you can't deal with that chemotherapy. So these are the options, and this is the kind of information that needs to get out to people, and people don't have this information on their side. So I think the documentary would really help telling people about the alternative treatments, and also about, of course, conventional is something that I still stand by. It saved my son's life, but if you have a synergy of both treatments, it goes a long way.
Also, what was the reason you took Ayan to Canada and not India? Was it because they have better medical facilities there?
Our medical facilities are no less. I felt the environment there is great to recuperate, because pollution is one thing that causes it. There's one way of looking at it. Cancer is actually a symptomatic response of the body. The amount of toxins you throw into it is going to play up one day. And in his case, it was a genetic malfunction because he was too young. But going to Canada, the air there, the kind of food that he would get, he could have access to organic food to kind of recuperate through this and get his immunity back, was very essential. And also over there, they have a field which we don't have here, which is something that I would want to see in India, is psychosocial oncology. That does not, is the psychology of patients and parents when they go through treatment. It scars you. It's something that probably I feel me and my wife need to go for a counseling session after this, because there's a deep-rooted fear in us after we have gone through an incident like this, and Canada has that. So I didn't want him to change as a person, because he was this vibrant force of nature, which he still is, and that he's not changed at all. So this is because I wanted the environment to be great, and it's not changed in one bit. The entire, he used to have the chemotherapy, next moment he was out conversing with the doctors, the nurses. Everyone knew Ayan Hashmi. Everyone knew who he was when he used to enter the floor. So
इमरान, आपका नाम आता है और किस साथ में आता है, तो फिर बुक का भी नाम किस रखा है, कोई खास वजह है?
ये इसकी वजह हुसैन सर हैं, क्योंकि जब हम इस किताब का टाइटल ढूंढ रहे थे तो बहुत सारे टाइटल के ऑप्शंस मैंने दिए. जनरली बिलाल इन टाइटल्स ऑप्शन से सहमत रहते थे, लेकिन हुसैन सर कहते थे कि नहीं, कुछ जम नहीं रहा है, वो मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है. और ही टू टेल मी दैट ये कभी कभी आ जाता है थॉट प्रोसेस. आप एयरप्लेन में बैठे हैं, आप कहीं जा रहे हैं और आपको सोचने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती है, बस टाइटल आ जाता है. So I think that day I don't cook normally. I was cooking an omelette at home, and I had given him so many title options, which he said no for. And suddenly this thing came to my mind, Kiss of Life. तो मैंने बिलाल को फ़ोन किया, मैंने बोला कि मिली को फ़ोन करके बोल देना कि एक टाइटल मैंने ढूंढ लिया, Kiss of Life. She's not going to say no to this. I know that. So Bilal called her up. In 2 minutes he called me back and said, he was laughing on the phone. He said that they've got a very marketable title, Kiss of Life. So that's how the title came about. And of course the tagline is something we thought about earlier. The earlier titles that I had given were things like Don the Cape, Superhero Kids. लेकिन I get Hussein's point कि it was not a personal thing. और इसमें कुछ अगर आप मेरी फिल्मों का ये निकाल दो इससे reference, so it is life affirming, Kiss of Life. There's certain optimism in that. Forget about all my films. Get that visual out of your head. Right. So that's what I guess Kiss of Life brings forth.
Imraan, your performance as Azhar was highly appreciated, but the movie didn't collect much money at the box office. Any disappointments on that front?
I am very, very happy with the reception the film has got, and I'm very happy with the messages, with the adulation that people have given for the performance in the film. These counting pennies and dimes, trade wale karte rehte hain. But we are very happy as a team that we, made a film that we started off with, very proud of, and we ended up achieving that. And the audience that had to go and see it, they loved it. For me, it's an accomplishment all the way.
We also heard that when Ayan was going through that treatment, there were times when he was alone with his mom, Parveen. So, could you tell us those times when she handled it alone herself?
That she can say, but I think it was very testing for her. because I was not there. She had to take him to hospital every week, and there were these drugs that were administered to him, chemotherapy drugs, and the reactions used to be very, very strong. When kids have chemotherapy, I didn't know about this. I was hearing on the phone, on Skype, I used to converse with them, but he used to sometimes throw up 10 times a night. So there used to be a bucket kept next to him, next to the bed after he took a chemotherapy drug. And for 2 days, he used to bring up all the food. And he started losing hair, and he started getting these very weird side effects called foot drop. The foot used to go limp, and he used to get pins and needles in his hands and his feet. So she was dealing with all of it. I couldn't have done it without her. She was really this pillar of strength that got Ayan and me and the entire family through this. And for some reason he's walked out. He's bored. His father's yapping a bit too much.
So,
Yes.
one question.
Better, yeah.
What's your dream come true? Like I'm sitting in, like, with you here. So I just want to ask something regarding your new movie. Would you like to share something with your fans regarding the upcoming movie? Which
Right
is
now
Raj
there's only Raj Reboot that's releasing in September 19th. And it's a bit of a Raj right now, so we'll unfold it very soon when the promo's out. Promo should be out in the next 2 weeks. So 19th of September is the next release.
So,
Yes,
the man has come out.
Let her ask. The girl with specs.
Yes.
It did change me, as I said before. It did change me a lot as a person. I learned to be grateful for all the small things that life has given me and not complain as much. I think, you heard him telling the story of Ayan bringing up the food, and I'm sure it pretty much made everyone here a little queasy. It turns out to be one of hope. So I guess we are not telling a sad story here. It's the story of how from the sadness we found hope, and luckily all's well that ends well. You know, that's the takeaway from the book. It leaves you inspired. I think it will get everyone pretty happy the way it ends at that note, and optimistic. That's pretty much what we kind of wanted the takeaway from this book to be. Thank you.
Imraan sir, yes. I'd like to ask you a question. I became your friend after watching Jannat movie. I would like to, when Jannat will release, I'm very excited about Jannat series.
I was sitting with the director last night only. I was telling him to make the film. He's looking for a script. So if the script aa jayegi, so I'll definitely tweet about it. Kerala, hopefully when Raj releases, I'll come to your city. Where exactly you place?
All right, we'll just
We
take.
might tour Kerala during Raj release.
We'll just take one.
Yeah, I know you're not missing it. You might see a bit of it in Raj. I know. You might see a bit of it in Raj. So I'm getting back to that again. Oh, thank you so much. Of course you can come. My wife is there. Say hi to her.
I'd like to invite Parveen to come up on stage and please join us. Please come up on stage. All right. Let's get the superhero up on stage. Come.
don't cover your face. So, right में. Imraan sir. आपके राइट में भी नीचे अरे यहाँ पे सेंटर में नीचे सर यहाँ पे.
Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you for being here and being part of the event. I'd like to thank Tidal Waves and all our panelists this evening, Bilal, Imraan, Hussein, and of course, Ayan. We have the author here to sign copies for you. In case you want to get an autographed copy, this is your chance.
Sir. Go, ma'am.
Don't push now. Just go back. Go back.
Thank you so much. How are you doing, Anas? 1 second. Yeah.
You got your signed copy? Excuse me, ma'am. Sir.
Can you please form a queue? Where is the queue? I can't see the queue. If you want signed copies, I want to see your queue. Otherwise, nobody can get it.
यहाँ से कोई भी नहीं जाएगा. Okay, चलो.
Please stand in the queue. Don't push like that.
Guys, keep moving. Poly. Relax, guys. Relax. भाई आगे से हट जाओ. Message you. Jihan.
Where's my, after finding a chappal, where's my father? My dad.
I'll get him, I'll drop him, and I also need to talk to you with Bilal.
Even I want to talk to you. Sir, Imraan sir, at least one selfie.
Go.